Welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel, everyone. This is Rich making another video on XRP today, as usual. So wherever you are in this vast planet, I hope you're all having a nice day today. I have to start with this from Block News before we discuss XRP, only on the Google App Store, to outlaw all cryptocurrency wallets in the US and the EU that do not have official permits. They're also bringing up KYC and AML. As I've been saying all along, if you're using a wallet that doesn't perform KYC or AML, it's likely going to vanish if the appropriate licensing isn't in place. Exchanges will experience the same thing, and some of these exchanges really take pride in the fact that they don't use AML or KYC. If you have assets on those exchanges, they will probably vanish along with the exchange. Additionally, we will witness a crypto bottleneck. After all restrictions are in place, 99% of cryptocurrency will also vanish. Now, even if it's early, this is already taking place. This gives you an idea of what to expect in the upcoming months. You must protect your cryptocurrency, get your wallet cold, keep your cryptocurrency there. I constantly encourage folks to get Ledger if they don't like Decent. This is the very reason I use both of those wallets. Ripple has stopped knocking. It is located within the global finance control room. This was an excellent thread in my opinion. Thus the collaboration between EastNets and Ripple that transforms everything. Here's why XRP will benefit greatly from this. Swift access is equivalent to EastNets. The foundation of international payments is Swift. Ripple now has a direct connection to Swift, thanks to their partnership with EastNets, 800 plus banks and central banks that are ISO 222 compliant. This is integration, not only adoption, payment safe with DLT integrated. With the deployment of Ripple technology, EastNets payment safe can now settle payments instantly, eliminating any delays. This implies large-scale, real-time cross-border transfers. The level of efficiency is really high. The future of Ripple is not only payments. World Economic Forum influence circles, policy rooms and CBDCs. From compliance to clearing, they are influencing the direction of international finance. The technology used by Ripple is becoming the norm. This is history in the making, not just hype. Decisions are now taken at Ripple. XRP is fundamental to the transformation of global finance. Right now, everything we ever imagined would occur in relation to XRP is taking place. Years ago, everyone predicted that Swift would eventually be replaced by Ripple. This is already underway. The train has already departed the station. As Rosie Rio stated, BNY Mellon bridges the gap between TradFi and DeFi by joining Open Eden as an investment manager and custodian for the US Treasury Fund, tokenized by T-bills. With whom else are they collaborating as Open Eden? You're correct, Ripple. Tokenized US Treasury bills are added to the XRP ledger via Open Eden. They will therefore still need to shuffle those around as they tokenize the US Treasury bills. How are those moved around? Using the XRP ledger, using a system similar to XRP. It appears to be a single large circle. However, Ripple has been working in the background with BNY Mellon for years. All of this makes sense, in fact. This is another fantastic thread from Pumpius. Ripple has always been a proxy for the US government, not the outsider in the conflict. The drama, the litigation, the David versus Goliath story, all of it was smoke and mirrors to allow Ripple to operate covertly right here at home, while wiring the new financial rails into the world, and that is entirely accurate. Consider it. What was Ripple doing in the background during the bear market when they were battling the SEC? They spread over the world, were constructing rails outside of the US everywhere. Ripple's technology was created from the beginning, with institutions, not individuals, in mind. It had almost no fees, rapid settlement, and ISO compliance before it was ever required. This was not a startup in the garage. Instead of competing with Swift, this infrastructure was designed to replace it. Take a look at their companions. Deep passages in the Middle East and Asia, central banks, Bhutan, Palau, and Montenegro, US defense-affiliated institutions like BNY Mellon, and Federal Reserve pilots in the background. This is not a rogue fintech's footprint. This expansion has been approved. This has to be allowed by someone. That's why I've always claimed that Ripple was being positioned by the elites. While headlines shouted Ripple in jeopardy, the SEC action was the ideal cover. They discreetly inked more than 1,700 NDAs and contracts with major international banking institutions. Under the pretense of escaping the United States, every corridor that was opened overseas was actually a part of a plan to bring the tracks home later. The intelligence playbook is the source of the controlled opposition model. Make the victim appear to be the target. Allow them to construct freely abroad, then change the story to claim the technology belongs to the government. The rails are already in place by the time anyone notices. Recall the Ripple stablecoin pilot, RLUSD. It connects straight to the XRP ledger, is made for institutional custody, and complies with all US regulations. After the transfer is made, XRP handles international settlements while RLUSD becomes the domestic bridge asset. Why the secrecy? Because there would be opposition if people realized that the United States was setting the groundwork for a reserve system based on blockchain technology. It would be preferable to portray it as a private corporation defending freedom. Then acknowledge that the state is now rebuilding the dollar rails. A US-linked genomic data project based on the XRP ledger is the Curveball DNA protocol. Any asset, including buyer data, can be moved by the railroads if they can transfer money. Tokenizing DNA entails controlling identification as well as finances. In summary, Ripple constructs global rails while hiding from the opponents. Domestic compatibility is discreetly guaranteed by the United States. Tokenization extends beyond currency and tangible assets to include identity. The XRP ledger takes over control from the financial system. Ripple is collaborating with more than just the US government. The blockchain division of the US government is called Ripple. The smokescreen was the lawsuit. The new constitution served as the ledger and the expansion served as the mission. This appears to have occurred precisely within the years 2022, 2025, which is why I thought the thread was excellent. And it appears that it's about time to go now that everything is nearly finished worldwide. I've been bringing that up for some time. Ripple has long been associated with the US government, you know. You see, they were already discussing the digital dollar, and Ripple in 2017, 18, 19 and 20. However, it appeared that everything needed to be put on hold until the appropriate moment. That leads us to our current position. Indeed, financial institutions are the primary target of XRP. Retail is not the target market for Ripple or XRP. Financial institutions are. The XRP ledger is the foundation of its business strategy, and in order for financial institutions to employ Ripple services, their systems must be integrated with the XRP ledger. The Ripple protocol does not control retail prices and was not designed to communicate directly with customers and businesses. The XRP ledger is a protocol designed for institutions, as BNP Paribas has attested in its documentation. XRP isn't sold in stores. We were never intended to own this coin, in my opinion. To be honest, I don't. I believe it simply so happened that when XRP was first made available on exchanges, people began purchasing it. However, institutional adoption is at the heart of Ripple's whole business strategy. The fact that we arrived at XRP before the institutions, that is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. And as a result of that, many people will become extremely wealthy. You should thus get XRP now while it's still affordable, because you're going to get priced out eventually, and I believe that moment is approaching. Bitcoin Mom, according to Pierce, the SEC is acting on cryptocurrency now, regardless of what Congress does. She is expressing that the agency wants to keep moving forward whether or not Congress is there, and that they can do a lot without it. They want a lot of stuff implemented, and since this time around we have a pro-crypto SEC, I like the notion of that. Therefore, I believe that everything will be in place much sooner if the SEC completes more tasks before these upcoming laws. Everything will take place much more quickly. Thus, the timeline will be altered once more. The SEC wants retail access to cryptocurrency. Listen to this out. Let's discuss that EO in more detail. Therefore, it directs the SEC and the Department of Labor to modify their policies so that those retirement accounts can invest in cryptocurrency or private assets, or at least permit it. How is the SEC going to handle this? How does that checklist appear? It's wonderful to be here, Katie. In my opinion, we have already begun the process of granting retail access to the private markets, and considering methods to do so in a way that is professional, varied, and compatible